Hey everybody, Carl Self with the Gates of Freedom Project here in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I'm going to be using notes today that I've typed up. So I'm going to be looking off screen and looking back from time to time. So today we're talking about when relapse happens, what do you do next? And this is really important because saying the wrong thing only increases shame, only increases guilt. And internally, that person wants to go back because they're not comfortable or they're unhappy. And that might be the very thing that drives them to use, which for me, that was my truth for many years. So when relapse happened, fear gets loud. Fear of consequences, shame, fear of the family lecturing. A pastor feels pressure to speak perfectly and say the right things. The person who relapses makes another sincere promise, but shame is already overtaken, shame and guilt. And I understand the pattern because I lived it. And so today we're going to slow the room down. We're going to look at what must come first, what not to say, how love is different from enabling, and what a real boundary sounds like, and what belongs in the first 72 hours after the relapse. It's not emergency or medical care. If someone is in immediate danger, get local help and qualified professionals. When the situation is safe enough, then talk. There's always a better way to respond. Always make sure the person is taken care of, that they're feeling good, that they're doing well. That's always important. Make sure that they're fed, because the brain needs nutrients to work properly. So that's always going to be something that's important too. The first conversation after relapse either lowers or deepens the chaos. So this is important. And we're going to cover all of this. Families act out of fear. They lecture, threaten to control, rescue, and withdraw. This is normal. The person who relapses acts out of shame and guilt. They minimize, they hide, promise, blame, or avoid the subject altogether. And these were the things that I did, and they kept me in my addiction for decades. So this is important. Pastors, they have to make it spiritual and not address safety or boundaries or structure. And one of the greatest faults is I was in the church for most of 39 years trying to recover. And always what I got from the pastors and the spiritual leaders was prayer and God can save you. And I'm not saying that he can't, because I've seen people converted instantly one time. But for me, it was a lengthy journey. It was a long journey. And I needed professional help. I needed psychiatrists, psychologists to help me. I had to overcome PTSD from childhood. And for me, that was a big deal. So I needed that help. I needed a good sponsor to walk with me and teach me how to live daily, one that had done it successfully. These were all important. It didn't detract or take away from my spiritual life. It actually enhanced and improved it and gave me the ability to live better and different. So point one is safety before conversation. You need to ask questions. Is anyone unconscious, unable to wake up, having trouble breathing, a seizure, confused, violent, suicidal, or overdose, in suspected overdose, or withdraw that could be physically dangerous? So those are questions you need to ask the person you're talking to, because they may have left someone behind that's going through that, or they may be stuck in that themselves. Point two, calm truth before shame. Calm does not mean pretending nothing happened and that it's not real, but you need to tell them the truth without humiliating, shaming, or guilting the person and arguing for hours. You know, in Matthew chapter 5, I don't remember the exact verse, but the Bible says that God makes the rain to fall on the evil and the righteous. And so we need to be careful. And then in Romans, it talks about loving someone unconditionally in their situation. So these are important things to remember, right? Keep the first useful conversation short. One problem, one boundary, one responsible next step. And this is important because you don't want to overwhelm somebody with too much to do right out of the gate, because they're still not mentally there. And truth is, it takes about 90 days for someone that's relapsed or used any drug, including gambling. It takes about 90 days for their brains to regain normal function. So this is really important. Point number three, love is not enabling. Love shows and proves that you care about them. But it also will not help hide or finance the pattern. It won't lie for somebody. So this is important. This is really, really important. Enabling removes consequences. I know my family and loved ones did it for me for years, and it never solved the problem. It provides money with no accountability, which if you're a gambler, that's horrible. If you're a drug user, that's horrible. If you're an alcoholic, it's horrible because you'll use that money to go use. Making threats that are never kept, or repeatedly rescuing without a change in structure or accountability. This was my experience. May not be yours, but it was mine. So these need to happen regularly, and you need to do this so that the other person can find their hope and freedom, because that's what's needed. And so love is patient, love is kind. It never seeks its own, and it's always there. It never fails. But what does that look like? I suggest reading Matthew, Romans, and Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, because it talks about that. And then read 2 Corinthians. Point number four, one boundary is stronger than 10 threats. Choose a boundary that you can keep for yourself, and then have them choose one that they can keep. One boundary is all that's needed to start building. So you're creating a foundation of security, safety, and accountability. An example could be, I can't give you cash. I won't lie to your employer or family. I will not allow drinking or drug use in my home. I'll help you contact qualified support when you are ready. So these are boundaries, and these are examples. There's thousands. I have more if you need them. Don't announce consequences you're not willing to carry out. And for me, the consequence for me to get sober was to be left alone, to be divorced, without my children, on my own, acting out in my addiction, and finding that I needed help. That took me a long time. And I had to be on my own for 4 years before I actually reached out to get help. So these are important things. Point five, the next 72 hours needs writing, people, and times. So we name what happened before the relapse, the time, the place, the feeling, the emotion, isolation, any conflict. Did you get money? Did you need money? Access or opportunity? And these are important. Because for me, even if I had a good paycheck, I'd go gamble because I wanted more, because I had things that I wanted. And the truth is, mentally, I'd already made the decision to go gamble. And even on the way there, I would be rationalizing why. Just this time, only one time. It's my last time. I won't do it again. And I'd know I was doing wrong, but I'd still go. And I wouldn't call anybody or my sponsor because I didn't want to deal with it. So by the time I got there, I'd already determined what I was going to do. Next, choose one safe person who knows the truth, one that you trust and one that they trust. Maybe they need to choose somebody different. Maybe you choose somebody that just you. But choose that one person that knows your story, that you can trust with anything, that they will love you unconditionally, not abandon you, and that they will walk with you. Write the next check-in time and the next responsible support action. You're going to do this for you, they're going to do that for them. And this is important so you can maintain your sanity. Don't confuse a sincere promise with a schedule, accountability, or a treatment plan. I made those promises thousands of times and never kept them. So it's important that you work together to create this system of accountability and responsibility. But you don't do it in anger or shame or guilt. You do it in patient love, unconditional patient love. I made sincere promises for many years. Many of them weren't real when I said them. I felt regret. I wanted the pain and consequences to stop. But that regret did not give the next dangerous hour a schedule, which would be payday. A promise did not tell me who I would call, where I would go, or what I would do when that craving hit, or who had permission to tell me the truth, the hard truth, unconditionally, in love, not in kindness, in gentleness, in mercy. Recovery began when the truth, faith, accountability, and structure became more important than protecting my image. When I realized that there were other people like me that I could trust with my truths, that I could have this conversation with, my recovery began. I had to find someone that was worse off than me to walk with them. And I did. One thing is the current field work we're doing. When anyone arrives, the work begins. The room's prepared, the chairs are placed, notes and teaching materials are ready. The point is simple. Structure exists before the danger hour, not to be invented in the middle of it. And so this is why I'm going to stay in Lampoon for a week with a gentleman who is a chronic relapser. And I believe his danger hour is after work, because he can go for a day, but when he drinks, he goes through delirium tremens. He detoxes, and he has to have alcohol to detox. So that's important. Now, we need to spend a week with him to teach him what to do in that moment. When he gets home, what to do not to drink. And that's a challenge for anybody. That's never easy. So what is love? Love is calm to see what's happening. It checks the safety before an explanation because it's more concerned about the other person. Love thinks of others better and more than yourself. That's what real love is. Not easy. Most people can't do it, but that's what it is. And if you're in that situation, that's what you do. It tells the truth without using shame as a weapon. It speaks honestly, gently, kindly, lovingly, telling the truth. It offers a responsible next step instead of a speech. It keeps a boundary even when keeping it is uncomfortable and you're afraid you're going to lose something. It doesn't stop, it keeps doing it. Love prays unending, unceasing. It never stops. It listens to hear, not to answer. And it acts. Love does before it receives. It does not use faith to avoid real responsibility and action. And that's what I found when I would go to the churches. Faith and spirituality would bail me out and it would save me because that was the answer they had. But that's not the answer for everybody. For me, it wasn't my reality. What is enabling? It's covering a relapse by lying to protect the person from a consequence, giving money, transportation, and access that is likely going to continue the pattern, taking responsibilities for the person instead of letting them face them or deal with them, making repeated threats and then removing consequences. I experienced that a lot. Calling rescue love when rescue protects the addiction more than the person. So we're not out to rescue or save them from the consequences. We need to walk with them through the consequences. I've watched men go to court with men that loved and cared about them, that would speak for them, not to save them or bail them out of the consequences, but just to share what they were doing and what was going on. And I've watched them be set free. So there's ways to do this, but you need to know how. Ignoring immediate danger because the family wants to avoid embarrassment or conflict. This is important. A lot of times we're worried about what people might think or say, so we cover it up, we hide it, we protect it. But the truth is, everyone needs to know. We need transparency in this moment. And the transparency is not for guilt, it's not for shame, it's for accountability and taking responsibility for your actions. And it's a slow process. It's not one you start with right away, but it's one you work with little by little, one step at a time. But it's important. That saved my life. And what not to say. How could you do this again? Heard that a billion times. It makes a conversation about shame and defense instead of safety and action. You promised. Why should I believe you again? Heard that a million times. Broken promises matter, but arguing about sincerity doesn't build the next 72 hours without using. This is your last chance. No clear boundary. Or this is your last chance, or I'm leaving you. 12 years I went through that with my second wife. An empty threat teaches everyone words don't have any value. And I was a good manipulator. So the user's going to be a manipulator. And I manipulated my way back countless times. So this is something we need to pay attention to. If you're going to make a boundary, stick to it. That boundary probably saved my life when she left and divorced me. I'll fix this. Just tell me what you need. You can't fix it. Nobody can fix it. They have to walk through it with another person who's been there and God. It's the only way out. You can't turn help into rescue before the person starts taking responsibility and accountability and creating a plan. You just can't do it. You can't do it for them. They have to do it for themselves. I remember a time I was in treatment in California, and I was doing it for my family. That was 1994. It would be another 12 years before I actually did it for myself. That's what it took. And that was 4 years after I was alone. So it takes what it takes for some people. For me, it was a painful path. I don't want you to go through that. I don't want to see anybody go through that. So I want to help with this. You are hopeless. Thousands of times I heard that, and I began to believe it. I began to tell myself, what's it matter? You're already here. You're hopeless. Why quit now? You already done it. That just kept me going in the addiction. Labels the person instead of naming the behavior that needs to change. That hurt me and didn't help me. What you should say for safety, I love you, I care about you, but before we talk or make another plan, I need to know whether anyone or you is in immediate medical or physical danger. First question, always important. I remember one person that helped me change was a gal I dated, and she'd always make sure I had food right after the relapse to take care of myself. And that meant a lot to me, and it showed me my value and my worth. So safety is important. Calm truth. I'm not going to shame you, and I'm not going to pretend this didn't happen and that it's harmless. We'll talk about it when you're clear-headed, and we can talk calmly and gently. Boundary. I will help with the responsible next step. I won't give you cash to cover this up, or lie for you to cover up consequences. Just let them know in that tone of voice. And then for the next seven, say this: when you are safe, clear-headed enough to talk, we'll sit down and write down what happened before the relapse, the hour, the feeling, the person, the place, the thing, whatever it was. And who knows the truth and what happens next? And we'll write that down. We'll write down a path for the next time and the next step. Now, a pastor could say, I will pray with you. I believe God can heal you and deliver you. Sometimes God uses other people, and you have to walk through it with them to find that redemption and healing. So we're going to pray and we're going to ask God to come into this situation and see where he leads. We also need to check safety. Same thing. Lower the conflict and choose one action for the next 3 days. That's it. So the adult who relapsed, you can say this to them. You don't need to prove anything tonight. Tell the truth about what happened. Give me one boundary and take one responsible action before another promise. So don't make a promise. I accept your apology. I know you're sorry. I know you didn't want to, but you did. So I'm with you. But let's make a plan. Let's work together. And in the next 72 hours, check the medical again, safety, no driving, violence, weapons, immediate danger, emergency medical, and qualified professional help if needed. When safe enough to talk, keep it short. No lecture, no attack, no interrogation. When they're intoxicated or unstable, let them stabilize. Let them rest. For me, I needed sleep for a day or two. Within the first day, write down the facts, what happened, what trigger happened, what was present, who knows the truth about this, and what boundary can we start today. In 24 to 48 hours, choose a support action. Contact a qualified medical or treatment provider if needed. Connect with recovery professionals or group like AA or a Christian recovery group. Use the free 72-hour plan that we can give to you, or request a first conversation with me. I've been there. I love to talk about it. Those are appropriate actions. Set the next check-in time. Confirm who is going to do this and who they're going to check in with. Revise the plan based on what happens next. So you have one, the loved one has one. Do not attempt unsupervised alcohol detox when withdrawal may be possible. Do not treat Gates of Freedom, DM, or document as emergency medical care. If someone cannot be awakened, has slow or irregular breathing, is choking or making gurgling sounds, has a seizure, is severely confused, is threatening suicide or violence, has a suspected overdose, or maybe in dangerous alcohol withdrawal, stop the normal conversation, contact local emergency or qualified medical help. If opioid overdose is possible and naloxone is available, follow the product instructions and emergency guidance. Stay with this person, and when it is safe, do the next step. We don't diagnose withdrawal, overdose, or psychiatric crisis here at Gates of Freedom. Heavy alcohol withdrawal can be life-threatening, requires medical monitoring. An unconscious person should not be left to sleep it off. After immediate danger is addressed, return to the calm, truth, boundary, and plan. The scriptures for this use the principle of speaking the truth in love. Truth and love are not enemies. And do not use this to excuse harshness or avoidance. Ephesians 4:15, speak the truth in love. Psalm 46:1, God is a refuge and strength in time and trouble. Prayer cannot help people slow down. Prayer can help people slow down and seek help. It doesn't replace emergency medical or response recovery action. And pray briefly for safety, honesty, wisdom, and courage. Then name the next action. Do not promise that prayer alone will stop relapse, withdrawal, overdose, or future use. And then set a boundary. Questions. What is the sentence you are most afraid to say after relapse? Where have you confused helping with rescuing? What boundary have you threatened but not kept? What usually happens in the dangerous hour before the relapse? Are you asking yourself help? Are you asking for yourself, helping someone else, serving as a pastor or church leader? These are questions to ask, and you can send me. The goal tonight was not to give you 10 resources. It was to help you slow the crisis down. Tell the truth, keep one boundary, and keep choosing one action, the right next step Depends on who needs help. Comment or leave a message to receive the replay and the next step. And that would be comment or message live. When you message, I will ask one question. Is this for you? Are you helping someone, or are you a pastor or church leader? Then I will point you in the next step, not all three at once. That's it. That's what we've recorded for tonight. I hope you get something out of this. And until next week, have a great day.